I first fell in love with theater when I was in the third grade, and I saw the sixth grade production of Cinderella. That's the first time I ever fell in love. I fell in love with Dee Wisdom, who played Cinderella. She was in a pink terry cloth robe, and I was smitten. And then when I was in sixth grade, one of the things that our school, the district did was the dress rehearsal for the spring musical. They invited all the sixth grades in the district to come watch. And that year they put on Camelot, and our sixth grade class went, and I was knocked out. They had live fire on stage, and I knew that this was the high school that I was going to be going to ultimately, and I'm like, that's for me. And I never looked back, and I've been doing theater ever since.
I was a late bloomer to the theater world, in most people's standards. I think I was always had a love for performing and acting. I just lacked the confidence. I started as a young child doing impersonations of Elvis Presley. I was from Memphis, and it was sort of, I think, the thing you did as a kid. But I knew all of his songs, and the family would come over, and I would put on performances. And then my performing sort of went into hibernation. I went into high school. I still had a love for acting, but I couldn't get it out. There was a wall, I think, of confidence issue. So I actually went to an audition in high school to audition for the high school play. And while I was waiting to go up my turn, I just internally sort of freaked out. And I acted sick, and I went home. So it wasn't until college that I decided to take a few electives and really go after something I'd always loved but was never able to do. And it was in college that I sort of found a love for theater, only by taking electives. Didn't do a play in college. And then upon graduating, I was going to business school. I majored in psychology and I minored in business. And I decided to take a complete left turn and audition for an acting school in Dallas, Texas. Through my audition, I was able to get a scholarship. And then I had to have the interesting, painful conversation with my parents about how I wasn't going to business school anymore and I was becoming an actor. Luckily, they were okay with it. And that's where it started for me.
I would say I first fell in love with acting relatively recently, within the last decade. Now, that being said, I've always been a performer, like from the age of, pre-birth. Like, I think I was born a ham and born a performer. But discovering the science of the art of acting has been within the last decade. And it's quite honestly become an obsession because it's never ending. It's always asking the next question, digging deeper, and that's kind of my approach with acting. But I've always been a performer at heart.
I've always loved acting. I never fell in love with it. I was always in love with it. I just wasn't always able to show my love or express it, really. And once I started being able to express it, it was no stopping. I've always loved it. I, too, feel like it's my purpose. My purpose on this planet is to entertain and to, I think, emotionally move people. And for that reason, I love it. It's all I want to do. And that's it.
My process of bringing a character to life in a theater play is reading the script. And then reading it again, just asking that next question of, who is this person? Why is this person doing this? What led this person to make this decision? For example, if I'm drinking, what am I drinking? Why am I drinking that? How many have I had? What's making me drink? It's, again, my approach is asking the next question until you get the answer, and then you make the choice and you make it your own.
bringing a character to life, I would say that's my favorite part of the process. I enjoy performing, I enjoy acting for audiences, but it's the homework that I enjoy the most. I love finding what I have in common with the character. I love the blend. I have to blend myself. I have to blend my own experiences into the character to make it real for me. Luckily, speaking of the play we're doing, Wounded, I have everything in common with the character. On so many levels, it's a little bizarre. So I'm ready for this one.
For me, theater is such a unique format and different from film or television is in its immediacy. It's in the moment. It's literally live. And there's that exchange, that energy, that give and take, because regardless of whatever theater piece you're doing, the audience is always another member of the cast, if you will, because there's that exchange of energy. And I've always been in love with the immediacy of it and that connection that is lacking, honestly, in the genre of film and television, which is why I think theater has been and will always be my first love, because of that electric connection that you have with an audience.
I think theater is the most interesting format because you're on the tight wire. That's it. I've done a lot of film and television, and I've done a lot of plays. Film and television, there's room for mistakes. There's redos, there's retakes, it's all. Theater is live, it's intimate, and you're out there. And you can be saved by falling off the wire, but you're on that wire, and that's the thrill of it. And I think that's the thrill of the audience, for the audience as well.
I first heard about P3 production company through John Peterson, who had been working with the playwright Jiggs Burgess, who I was connected with. And it was brought to my attention that P3 production company was going to be doing Wounded Part 2 as part of the Fringe Festival. And I was going to move heaven and earth to be a part of it, because I was such a fan of this piece when it was first introduced to me a couple of years ago in its developmental stages. So I've been with it since close to the inception, and I'm in love with the piece and so excited to be working with P3 to literally breathe life into this character in this piece.
I just recently heard of P3 Theater Company. My good friend Craig Taggart, who's playing Carrol in the play, called me out of the blue and had this wonderful opportunity for me to do an incredible play by an incredible playwright. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And this is how I've just kind of come into this family that kind of everybody already knows each other, and I'm sort of the new guy, but I haven't ever been as welcomed as I have been with this group.
I am in love with this playwright style. I honestly feel as if, Jiggs Burgess and I, the playwright, have never met, but I feel as if he has written something that comes from my soul, in that I feel such a connection to Carrol, in the fact that the way Jiggs has crafted this character is that he's rife with witticisms, and there's an innate poignancy to him. The words that come out of his mouth are so delicious to say, because it's rooted in Southern humor, and that's something that I've always had an affinity for, based on having grown up in Missouri. My grandmother would say, we're not Southern, we're country. But it's been a writing style that I've always had, held very close to my heart. And Jiggs is so talented with it that he makes the work of an actor quite easy, simply by speaking the words that are on paper.
I wanted to be a part of this play, first off, because my talented friend Craig Taggart suggested me for it. He called me and he said he read the script. and he could think of no one else to play the role, I was blown away. And I have such respect and regard for him as an actor and an artist that I didn't even need to think about it. I didn't even need to read the script. I was in at that moment. Luckily, after reading the incredible script by Jiggs, Burgess, it's phenomenal, and it's so well written that it's just, I can already see it in my head, and the characters are so real and honest and wounded that I just can't wait to play a part like this.
My character, Carrol, goes through quite the arc in Wounded, in that at the beginning of this chapter of the story, he is a nervous wreck. He is expecting company, somebody who he has not seen in years, who he's very, very excited to see. And we go on quite the journey of his nervousness and then settling into the pain and the pain that comes from the honesty of his experience with his guest that comes to visit, and the terms of his own life, and his coming to terms with the failed purpose that has been his existence, and unrealized dreams that he's experienced. So it's quite the ride of nervousness and being frazzled, and how he overcompensates that, and ultimately being honest with both himself and a loved one.
My character in the play Wounded is Robert. Everybody in this play has been wounded, and badly, pretty badly, in some way, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I think both characters, and mine in particular, is grasping for some sort of redemption. He needs to be forgiven. He needs to forgive. The themes in Wounded, they are the themes, once you've seen this powerful play, that we all have and suffer from and try to overcome every day of our lives. Our past, the parts of our past that haunt us, the parts of our past that still control the puppet strings of how we are the rest of our lives. And for my character, I'm trying to cut those strings. I'm trying to get over addiction that has really shaped my life. And I'm looking for some sort of salvation that I don't know comes.
The layering of the themes of Wounded, I mean, even just looking at it from the standpoint of why is that the title? Wounded, in the fact that it speaks to the experience of humanity, in that how do we rebound from being hurt? And what happens when we're hurt? How do we process that? It reminds me a lot of the Langston Hughes poem of A Dream Deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester? And there's a lot of components in Carrol and in Robert, who's also in the other character in the play, of what wounded looks like, what wounded is, and how does one overcome being hurt. Well, John has been delightful. I can tell, like, over the course of pre-production, if you will, and planning out the schedules, he has the most amazing attitude. I can tell that this is a project that he really wants to see take flight, and it's a special bond that he and I have now in being a part of something that has never existed before. Like, P3 through John is literally giving this piece its first opportunity to come to life. And I can tell just in the exchanges we've had via email about how excited he is to work on this and how much fun this is going to be as a collaboration.
What I'm looking forward to performing this particular play live at the Fringe Festival is, I'm sure, what is going to be some deafening silence in the audience. This play, I've never read anything so powerful, really, and it's staggering. And I think that people are going to connect with it, and they are going to be processing things in their own lives while they're sitting there that they haven't thought about in a long time. And so that's what I'm looking most forward to. I'm looking forward to the reaction, the way that we are going to be able to move these people. We're going to make them laugh, and we're going to make them long, and we're going to make them hurt a little, and we're going to make them leave changed. That's what I'm looking forward to. I want them walking out a little different person.
I am most looking forward to, when performing Wounded live on stage, is feeling that connection with number one, I'm looking forward to throwing down with Shaw Jones. He is one of my favorite actors. I am thrilled beyond measure that he is doing this with me. And the other thing that I love as an actor, as I've spoken to, as far as the difference between film and television, is I was born to be on stage. I know that is my purpose. And having that exchange and that relationship with an audience for an hour and a half, telling this story, knowing that they've got a connection to this character just like I've got a connection to this character, and that we'll all walk away with it, learning something a little bit about ourselves. I do have a history with Shaw Jones, my co-star in Wounded, in that we first met about a decade ago at the Richard Lawson Studios. So we've studied acting together. So what's really cool about this particular project as we get ready to jump in is that he and I already have a chemistry and a shorthand of working with one another. I trust him implicitly. I know that the work that he's going to bring to the table is going to impinge me. I know that I can volley back to him and have that exchange that otherwise would take a little bit of getting to know you with a total stranger, and we actually can bring the history that is inherent between Carrol and Robert through Craig and Shaw. So I'm really excited about that, and I cannot wait to play with. He's brilliant, and I can't wait for everybody to see how just phenomenal he is. And selfishly, I can't wait to play.
I think what will surprise people about this play is the depth that it goes to. It starts out, it's light. I don't think they understand the cliff that they're driving towards. And it's going to be a great moment when the car goes over.
I think audiences will be surprised with Wounded at its unapologetic honesty. It peels away throughout the course of the story, some really, really dark, some really, really painful experiences that this individual, that Carrol, has gone through. Because as with great Southern writing, it's all the feels. It's laugh out loud, and then on a dime, you're on the verge of crying your heart out, because funny people oftentimes are the deepest wounded. And it's inherent in the writing, but I think people will be really surprised with just how honest the character ultimately becomes regarding his experience and how raw that is.
I'm looking forward to the Fringe Festival. As an actor in it, I want to see the other actors. I want to see the other performances. I've just heard so many powerful things about the Fringe Festival over the years that I've been here, and I've never been to be a part of it, so I'm extremely excited about that. And I love seeing theater And there are just so many shows and so many original shows that, my calendar will be filled.
I am most looking forward, relative to the whole experience of Fringe, of seeing all the different art forms that are going to be there. I know that this is a play that's got comedy, it's got tragedy to it, but I also know there's musical pieces, that there are one-person show components. It speaks to perhaps one of my first loves, which is variety television and variety performing, and that there's, with Fringe, in my experience, a little something for everybody. So I'm really intrigued by the variety and the versatility that's going to be out there. And I also think it's important and wise to support your fellow artists. So when I'm not on stage performing, I want to go and see as much other art and support as many other artists as I can. To my understanding, it's also very economical. Full disclosure, you go to a movie these days and it can cost you upwards of $50 for the ticket and the popcorn and the whole experience, but you're spending a fraction of that at Fringe and you're seeing something live and in person. And I think there's no comparison as far as the discount that you get through Fringe from an economic standpoint than, like I said, dropping a good part of your paycheck at AMC or elsewhere.
I think people need to go see P3's production of Wounded at the Hollywood Fringe Festival because they haven't experienced something so electric in a long time. This play is going to shake them to the core. It is going to make them relive things and think about things they haven't thought about in a long time. It's going to make them question things they've done, things they were thinking about doing. And I think it's really going to move them as a human being. And I think it's important. I think the topics that we are including in this play are human and important.
Wounded, via P3 production at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, is a must-see. You're going to see two artists that are on purpose and doing what they were put on this planet to do, with a piece that is rife with comedy and tragedy it's what I was put on this planet to do, as far as experiencing all the feels. And you're going to see two artists at the top of their game throwing down and telling a story unlike it's been told before. What I would like to say to Jiggs Burgess, the playwright, is thank you for this opportunity, for speaking such specificity to this character of Carrol, because something that I have learned in the evolution of my artistry is that the more specific one can be with their storytelling, the more universal it becomes. And the specificity in which Carrol is written lands on me in that I have, over the course of the last 40 some odd years that I've been doing this, I know who this man is, and it's something that I literally was put on this earth to do. And I cannot wait to do it. And I thank you for the chance, Jiggs.
P3 has been wonderful so far. The producer, John, I've just met today, but we've had some phone conversations, and I haven't ever felt as comfortable walking into a situation and well taken care of. I think actors and creative people should get start with working with P3 because their reputation. Once I heard and looked it up, the plays and the musicals they do are just top notch. And I trust my friend Craig Taggart, who brought me in on it.
I think people should get involved with P3 because of the inherent love of the craft. This is a production company that loves live theater. And it's a phenomenal club to be a part of, if that is your passion. I see it in the enthusiasm with which their productions are mounted and developed. And I'm so proud and happy and excited to be a part of it. And I want others to join the club. Production companies like P3 are so important because their sustainability isn't just on ticket sales, especially when you're getting, ticket sales at such an affordable rate. We want people that ordinarily wouldn't be able to see theater to be able to come and see live theater, but full disclosure, doesn't pay the bills. Art is important, but it's also expensive. So I think if you have a love for the theater, this is the lesson in life that I've received, is that if theater is something that has touched your life, it's of equal importance for you to give back as much as you can, as often as you can, because you're paying it forward from the experience that you've had, like I did when I was in third grade, to continue doing it so that others can benefit from it. So I think it's important, as I said, to give what you can when you can so that everybody gets to enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Shaw Jones. I will be playing Robert in the P3 Theater Company production of Wounded at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. You've got to come see this play. Be ready to be moved. I'll see you at the theater.
Hey, I am Craig Taggart. I am starring as Carrol in the upcoming production of Wounded, produced by P3 Productions. Get your tickets now. Tickets are limited. You do not want to miss this. It's going to be incredible. Can't wait to see you there.